Would you like your car to do something like this? Or maybe like this? Or maybe something like that? Then you have to make sure that your fuel is up to the game. Hey there everyone, Norman from AlphaX here with a bit of knowledge to spread around. Today we're going to talk about fuel octane and the effects of it at the time of tuning. We're going to answer the question, why is it important to run the highest possible grade of fuel that you can get at the pump? I hope that this information is going to be useful to you at the time of your tune, so you can make a good decision when the time comes. First, we need to understand what octane rating is and how is it calculated. So, what is octane and octane rating? Octane is a hydrocarbon, which is a component of gasoline, from which the term octane rating comes from. Back then, the octane rating was calculated pretty easily, since it was a measure of the mixture ratio between pure heptane, which had an octane rating of 0, and pure 2,2,4-trimethylpentane, which has, and had, and will have, a research octane number of 100. But now, in these times, an octane rating is the number given to a fuel based on the pressure at which the fuel will spontaneously combust. This is determined in a testing engine, which looks something like this, and you can see that it has a bunch of test equipment to help study the effects of changing and varying octanes. What are different octane rating systems, you ask? Well, we have three main methods of calculating an octane rating. First being RON, which we already mentioned, MON, which is motor octane number, and the anti-knock index, which is AKI. First off, all these numbers are calculated using that previously mentioned testing engine with a reference fuel that is of a precisely known octane to use it to be compared to the new untested fuel that we need to know the octane rating for. Think about it like a balance scale, where you know the weight of a potato, but you need to find the weight of a weird Mars rock that you found on your front porch. You already know the weight of your potato, so you can give the Mars rock a weight rating based on how much and how fast the scale tips to one side or the other. Dang, that Mars rock looks like it's like 190 octane, holy crap. Now, the thing between RON, MON, and AKI are small differences. RON is a test that is done at 600 RPM, with varying compression levels, which they do by changing the compression height, which challenges the fuel's anti-knocking tendency since an increase in the compression ratio is going to increase the chances of knocking. MON is done at 900 RPM instead, and it uses a preheated fuel mixture. This, combined with higher engine speeds, variable ignition timing, and other small details like those, stress the fuel's knock resistance way more than MON does. Finally, AKI is basically the average between the RON and the MON, which is calculated with this formula here, which is R plus M over 2. That's pretty easy. Now, what are the typical octane ratings and what are their benefits and drawbacks? Well, since we know that knock is what we're trying to fight when we increase octane rating, we need to define what knock actually is. This is kind of a difficult topic, but basically it's an uncontrolled detonation of the air and fuel mixture, which pretty much makes the piston dance around the combustion chamber, and generally, pistons aren't made to move in any direction inside the combustion chamber that isn't up or down, and they usually shatter whenever they start going not up and down, meaning they start going sideways, or twisting, or any motion that isn't designed to be done by the piston. So we'll start with 2,2,4-trimethylpentane, here it is again, which we know is a perfect 100 octane gas. 87 octane fuel is the worst of the worst if you're going after any kind of performance, since it's 13 whole points away from our ideal fuel, which means that it's not very knock resistant. In this dyno sheet, you can see that as engine speed and engine conditions get higher and hotter, power drops a lot since the ECU can't rely on the fuel to control knock, so it starts controlling knock by its own, which is usually done by retarding ignition timing, which is going to kill your power and increase your cylinder temperatures. And God forbid, it's going to lower boost and start closing throttle. We can also see how the graph starts getting really squiggly and nasty since we're taking a lot of preventative action to avoid knock. Because if we didn't do this, we'd basically end up with when we start adding octane rating, which literally means increasing the resistance to knock, the ECU can then say, hey, this fuel is pretty good, and it can start adding back your timing and your boost back to whatever the manufacturer or your tuner decided that it was a good idea. So that way you can have a bit of a big numbers. Since we added octane, now you don't run the risk of your piston trying to do a little tango inside the combustion chamber. Going over 100 octane rating doesn't mean that the fuel is knock-proof. It just says that that fuel resists knock better than our friend 2,2,4-trimethylpentane. Basically, remember that 100 octane is the octane rating of 2,2,4-trimethylpentane. So over that means it has more knock resistance than that. Of course, there is such a thing as diminishing returns, but that's a topic left for another day. So guys, I hope everyone learned a few details about why it's so good to run the highest octane possible. And hey, don't take my word for it. Look at these results of people that have independently tested cars on dynos and have shown this to be true. You can see in this graph made by Tim Herber of TorqAmp, there's a small difference even between 93 and race gas. So thanks Tim for showing that to us. Remember to hit like and subscribe if you want to keep seeing videos like this one, and don't be afraid to hit me or hit one of our dealers up at AlphaX or AlphaSpeed. Thanks everyone.